Going 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome to
Hart and Hustle. I never know. Am I supposed to be? All right, let's finish it. My bad.
I'm the Hart.
I'm the Hustle.
We're talking Texas teams and Texas talents around the Lone Star State.
We always joke afterwards, like our intro. Our intro is not terrible. Outro's kind of usually kind of weak. When we just like look at each other and be like, "Yeah, that's it. That's the show."
Yeah, we're done. Podcast over, as Carter would say.
But you're always the Heart, and I'm always the Hustle, so that should be easy to remember.
I'm the Heart,
and I'm the Hustle.
This is episode 8 of Heart and Hustle, week 7 of the Texas high school football season and the college football season, but episode 8 of Heart and Hustle. And today we're talking about the UTEP Miners and the Cibolo Steele Knights, a really great graphic.
Yeah, the colors pop on that one.
The colors really pop.
You really can't see the Miners very well within the color scheme that I utilize for the graphic, but
I think it looks good though.
It's UTEP.
It's UTEP. Before we get into that, week 7, the high school football season. Where are you going this week?
So Palestine, Westwood, and Crockett. It's a road trip with Matt Stepp, the legend, the GOAT.
That at Palestine?
Yeah, it is.
Nice.
He might have even secured us a spot in the press box if we need it.
Nice.
And I'm thinking, like, I'll report back.
Okay.
But I'm thinking, like, the press box spread might be homemade.
That
you know what I mean?
rocks.
Potentially.
You'll have to send us some videos.
Sometimes it's like that. You know, when you go out to some of the schools that are, like, traditionally known to have a lot of Texas high school football history.
Yeah.
And you get a surprise every now and again. And we'll see. You know, like, you never know what you're going to get.
Who are you going to watch?
Palestine, Westwood, and Crockett. Westwood, of course, is led by 2027 quarterback Kavian Bryant.
Okay, I figured.
Who's picking up a lot of scholarship offers. And then they have TCU running back John Denman. They're a legit state title contender this year.
Definitely. I really like that. I'll be going to Crowley at Mansfield.
Nice.
On Thursday. Carter Yates and I will be going down to
Vernon
Mansfield.
Newsom?
At Vernon Newsom, yeah. I am pumped to see Jacoby Hayes.
Yeah,
the athlete for Mansfield who's committed to UNT.
He had a great game last week. I went and watched him play last week.
That's right, yeah. You were like, you came back and you were like, you're going to love him. And I'm like, yes.
He's really, really exciting.
Yeah.
Like he is one of the state's true under-the-radar gems.
Yeah.
Like not very many people know about him. Not very many people talk about him. I don't think we talked about him when we talked about North Texas on Heart and Hustle, as a matter of fact. But, like, if you made me talk about North Texas again.
I don't think we've talked about North Texas.
Oh, well.
He'll definitely be up there if we're talking about him. Note to self.
Talk about Jacoby Hayes when we talk about North Texas.
Yeah.
Well, he's faster than he gets credit for.
That's
really explosive is the way I would explain his skill set.
Yeah, I'm super pumped to see him. And then on the other side for Crowley, I really like Tay Ellis. And the reason I like Tay Ellis, he just picked up, or not just picked up, but a couple weeks ago picked up an Ohio State offer.
He did.
But one of the reasons I really like him is Carter and I were at kind of his breakout game last year as a freshman when Crowley went to Vernon Newsom again and played Mansfield Summit. Last year, he was a freshman.
Yeah.
He threw for over he caught, well, he had one touchdown pass, 100 and something yards, just over 100 yards, I think, receiving.
Just another day.
Yeah, just another day as a freshman. As a freshman. So that was kind of his breakout game that we saw, and man, we really enjoyed watching him. So I've kind of been on the Tay Ellis train for a while.
I think he's closing in on 30 offers. He might have eclipsed 30 offers, but definitely over
Class
25.
Of 2027. Yeah. He's fast.
I saw him play against North Shore. He was pretty good.
Yeah.
Brandon Ford had a heck of a game against North Shore.
Yeah.
Too. Their defensive back in the 2026 class. Really good. And their quarterback's real fun.
Caleb Williams?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
what a name, too.
The
I love it.
Mansfield quarterback is fun, too.
Yeah.
So you guys are going to have a good time. I think that's going to be a very competitive game. It's really, that game, it's really for second place in the district, probably. North Crowley's pretty dominant.
Yeah, I'd say so too.
But
it so messes me up too because I'm so used to Mansfield being in the District of Doom with like DeSoto and Duncanville, but now I'm
what a break they got to move out of that district, right?
Well, but then North Crowley comes along and they're like, "Ha, just kidding."
But North Crowley still has to play both of those teams.
Yes, and it's not going to be
so that's like the game.
Yeah.
Those will be the games that decide the district. But like this
Definitely.
is the pregame.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like to decide who could be the district champion.
Yeah.
An elimination game, I guess, so to speak, that
Yeah.
you're going to be at.
Yeah, I'm very excited. It'll be a good time out there. But you're not going to a game on Friday.
I'm not.
Do you want to tell the people why you're not going to a
in
game on Friday?
studio, getting produced by this one on Texas Football Tonight.
I'm so excited. You're making your 2024 season debut because you hopped on as an analyst twice last season, but this is your 2024 debut on Texas
You've
Football
never
Tonight.
produced me before.
I have never been lead producer, no. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Talk about versatility.
Are you like one of those that has a lot of notes during the broadcast, or
No. I am one to make you laugh though sometimes during the broadcast.
so I got to be like under control? Oh, no.
Because I'm going to be in your ear all night. So
Well, hopefully I can make the viewers laugh sometimes, and
Yeah.
then of course y'all in the back who
Yes.
are producing the great show Texas Football Tonight,
Correct.
which has honestly it's a fun show to watch.
Oh, and it's fun to produce too. It's just fun to watch the dynamic between Pickle, Ish, and Tepper. Ish, of course, will not be on this week, so you're going to be filling in for him.
Hopefully
but
I
I'm
can-
really excited because you're bringing a different perspective onto this show than I get. Honestly, even Ish, Pickle, and Tepper, you bring in more of the recruiting aspect, and you're going to be able to really dive into these players rather than mainly just kind of overlooking the teams, right? So
Yeah.
I'm really excited for that portion of it.
That's fun, and the slated games is good. It's going to be hard to top last week's. Y'all, like everybody
fun.
I think too, everybody was sleeping on last week, and it ended up being like
It was a great week for games,
And the-
too.
Cibolo Steele. They played a banger, 64-59 over East Central.
Yeah.
What a crazy game that was.
Yeah, really, really crazy game. Speaking of Cibolo Steele, should we just go ahead and dive right
Let's
into
do it.
You want to talk about Cibolo Steele first? Or you want to talk
Yeah,
about UTEP?
I'm good with that.
Cibolo
Kind
Steele
of we
first?
set ourselves up for that, I guess.
Yeah, we unintentionally
But
set ourselves up.
Now we have to make sure that we talk about Chad Warner last to tie in
Of course.
to
Of
UTEP
course.
because he's committed there.
Of course. Well, that was the plan all along.
Okay.
That's how you tie in the two.
Shh, we'll talk about Chad Warner later.
Talk about Chad Warner later.
Yeah.
But Cibolo Steele. So funny enough, on Women Talking Football today, we highlighted the San Antonio region. So I have already talked about Cibolo Steele today.
Okay.
We've already talked
So
about Cibolo Steele today.
you know about this team. You've studied them now.
Yes. And this is one of my favorite teams in the San
Oh, they're
Antonio
electric.
region because they're electric, they're explosive. This offense is so much fun. Just absolutely loaded with FBS prospects.
In my mind, I'm thinking, who's she going to mention first? So I'm interested.
Okay, so who do you think? I've got one in
Well,
my head.
I mean, I think
I've
it's
got a
going
guy
to
in
be.
my head, but
I think it's going to be Jalen Cooper or Jonathan Hatton. I'm just interested to know which one you pick.
Jalen Cooper.
Jalen Cooper.
This dude is just his athletic ability is absolutely insane. Absolutely went off as a junior. 1,600 yards or something, 30-plus touchdowns. He averaged like 24 and a half yards a catch last season as a junior. Just an absolute freak show.
Stat producer.
Huh?
He's a stat producer.
He is a stat producer. And I love watching how physical he is too. When he's going up against defenders, he can high point the ball and really, go up and grab those crazy, insane catches and make the play over the top of his defenders. I just love the way that he plays a game.
Silky smooth is
Silky smooth.
That's kind of like the way I describe him if you were to ask.
Yeah.
He's one of the best route runners in this class.
Very good route runner.
For sure. He was the next level athlete, wide receiver MVP, and he was totally embarrassing defensive backs in one-on-one situations.
Yeah.
Like if you put him in a camp or 7-on-7 setting, you can't guard him.
No.
Because you really can't press him because he's too fast. And if you give him the respect that he deserves because of his vertical abilities, he's going to break you off on some quick routes and really has an advanced route tree for a high school player.
He does.
He
And
can run them all.
And he's agile too. I mean, like his footwork's insane.
Committed to SMU. But there were some programs lurking around, namely Notre Dame, trying to get Jalen Cooper.
He wants to go join Jaden Greathouse.
Yeah, Jaden Greathouse out there, trying to get him to flip his commitment late as they should, because he's a bona fide talent, and teams, when you have good talent on your commit list, other teams are interested in that talent. So I think that it'll be a hotly contested recruitment until his name is on the dotted line. So I'll be interested to see what he does before the early signing period, December 4th through 7th. So there's like a 3-day window. Maybe someone's listening to this for the first time. There's 2 signing periods in college football. The main one now being the early signing period, which this year happens December 4th through 7th.
Yes.
And that's the window that opens where you can basically lock in your non-binding verbal commitment on paper.
And we may be doing an early signing day special.
Hustle signing day special. Shh,
Stay tuned. Stay tuned for that announcement. But Jalen Cooper, obviously a freak show there. There's another wide receiver there that I highlighted on WTF this week, and that's Royal Capell.
Yeah, Royal Capell.
He's awesome. I think he's a great route runner too, and I think he's great at creating separation between him and the defender. Oklahoma State commit for the Cowboys. He's going to go play for the Cowboys. I like this guy a lot too.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Like what I think he brings to the table is he's a receiver who can play outside in, or inside out.
Yeah.
He can take like a sweep and turn it into a touchdown, or he can just beat you off the line with his jets. He's got really strong hands, but most impressively, he's got one of those physiques that's undeniable. He can, when he gets like an underneath route or a sweep or, a jet sweep or something, he's like a running back after the catch. And he kind of looks like a running back whenever you like see him out of his pads. He's really well put together. And that's what makes him tough to tackle because, he's tall enough at, right around that 6 foot mark to be one of the higher rated guys, but he's stocky too and strong.
Yeah. Sticking with the offensive side of the ball, we're not done because they're loaded with talent on the offensive side of the ball.
If we don't mention your name, we're sorry, but you guys have a lot of players.
You just have a lot of really good players, and one of those being running back Jonathan Hatton Jr.
Yeah.
I like this kid a lot. He's an Oklahoma commit. Really, really good frame, 6'1.5", 209, 210.
Yeah.
He's a big, stocky running back. Maybe not the fastest guy on the field, but you're not going to be able to bring him down.
No, he's impressive and composed. I had a chance to interview him for a video interview back in January, and he's like a veteran already. Like, he knows what he's wanting to talk about. He knows what he wants to say. He doesn't skip a beat. He's committed to Oklahoma, and the player that he looks up to, of course, like a lot of Texas players look up to Adrian Peterson, right? And DeMarco Murray, who's the running backs coach there, who led his recruitment, of course, started. And he likes to emulate Coach Murray on the field. And I think that they do have a lot of similar qualities. Murray was a pretty good pass catcher when he was at Oklahoma. And that was one part about Hatton's game that I don't quite know enough about yet to say is he as good of a pass catcher coming out of the backfield? But they don't need to throw him. The reason why we don't know the answer to that is they don't need to throw him the ball that often because they have wealth or an abundance of talented pass catching
receivers.
options.
Yeah, exactly.
Not only the 2 receivers we talked about, they got Sean Robinson, who's a tremendous athlete as well. But Hatton to me is like if I had a 3rd and 1 situation, game was on the line, that's my guy.
Yeah, I think so too. Obviously a really, really talented offense. I mean, they put up numbers, they put up points like no other. But on the defensive side, they also have a couple players, specifically Christian Watson, the Lafayette commit.
Yeah.
Talk about him a little bit and what you like.
Well, he was on the radar early, and I think that he's a versatile defender who could probably play in the nickel or play a couple different spots in the secondary. I think it's a complete, like, I was shocked. I actually knew that he was committed there. I remember looking it up. We're in the middle of Rising magazine season, so DCTF Rising is our winter edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. We produce that. It comes out in December, so as part of that, I have to research 300 prospects in the class of 2025 who will be in that magazine, and I watch a lot of tapes. And I'd already watched his tape. He does already in our system had a profile and stuff. So I want to evaluate and see like who makes the cut, who doesn't make the cut for that magazine. And one of the things that jumped out to me is the versatility that he brings to the table. And I think that is what makes him special.
Just an overall loaded team. And we'll get to the quarterback there, Chad Warner, in a minute. But I kind of want to talk about Cibolo Steele as a whole. So one of the things that we talked about on WTF today was the fact that San Antonio versus Austin, right?
Okay.
It's always a tough battle. A San Antonio team has not beat an Austin team since 2013.
Okay.
Right? I want to ask you this because we kind of talked about it on WTF.
Is that just powerhouses or that's like across the board? It's like more like powerhouse.
More like powerhouses.
The Cibolo Steele, Austin, Westlake matchups.
More like powerhouses. Now, I kind of want to ask you this. So, last season, Cibolo Steele made it to the state semifinals, and they played Summer Creek, and then they kind of got blown out by Summer Creek. Summer Creek had a really, really good team. I mean, they had Lloyd Avant and Xavier Adkins. I mean, obviously, like, loaded. Cibolo Steele was too. Do you think they could make it back to that spot this year?
Well, Steele's one of those interesting teams to me that can outscore anyone on any given Friday night.
Exactly.
Earlier this year, I had the Austin Westlake game. I had a credential for the game.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to make it because of an emergency that happened at my house. The only time I missed like a Friday night game that I'd RSVP'd on for I can't even tell you the last time.
Yeah.
So I was extremely disappointed that I didn't get a chance to see that game with my own two eyes in person. I was actually going to jump on the call and do some color commentary for the game, but the fact that we had the broadcast there allowed me to I watched it. Yeah. I watched every second of the game, and it was really a tale of two halves in that game to me. Steele came out of the gate swinging and had Austin Westlake on the ropes. And Westlake did a really good job of a bounce back in that game of playing composed and limiting mistakes whenever Steele made a few mistakes that were very costly, especially in the second quarter towards the end of the first half. What put them behind the 8 ball and completely changed the trajectory of that game. There were a couple of plays that could have went the other way where I think that the outcome could have been influenced. Mm-hmm. So I think they're right there with the top teams in the state because I put Westlake in as like one of my state championship watch teams. Mm-hmm. And if they can go toe-to-toe with Westlake, then they're right there with the top teams out there.
Yeah.
The way the playoffs set up for them is usually good and gives them a good chance to advance really far or really deep into the playoffs. And we'll have another one of those similar matchups where it's a coin flip.
Yeah.
Right? The thing that I think that really gives them an advantage is their ability to score points on a whim.
Oh, yeah.
And if their offense is clicking,
they could beat anybody on any given
night. It's not
a
team that you like prep for and think, oh, well, this one's going to be a slam dunk.
Yeah, right.
There's never a slam dunk when you're playing Steele. They've been at the top of the list for a while, especially in San Antonio, but really across the state, they've been one of those teams who can compete for the state championship in any given year. And we've seen it at AT&T Stadium before.
Yes. And a guy that has, that helps them with that is their quarterback, Chad Warner, who is a UTEP commit.
Yeah, there you go. There's a good tie-in.
There's the tie. Talk a little bit about Chad Warner, what he brings to the table, and obviously all the offensive weapons he has around him.
He's a gunslinger to me. The thing that really I'm impressed with is his ability to command that offense and distribute the ball out effectively to all these weapons,
all
right?
The weapons around him.
Like, you got to keep everybody happy. Of course, it's awesome to be able to have these guys, on your side.
I was gonna say it's the meme of like, I just imagine Chad Warner in a game, and he's like, oh, screw it. Jalen Cooper's down there somewhere, and he just chunks it downfield, and Jalen Cooper or Royal Capell's just there to grab it.
And whenever your back's against the wall, you can turn around and hand it off to Hatton too.
Yeah, like he's low. I mean, around him, like he's just set and ready to go.
Yeah. But back to Warner, like he's just one of those guys who loves to press the action. He's not afraid to take a chance with the football. He'll put the ball into tight spaces whenever he has to.
I like it.
but he's a high volume passer. He thrives on timing routes and that kind of stuff. When everything's on time, he's one of the best in the state.
Yeah, I think so too. Now you wanted to do something. Well, before we get to that, let's talk about UTEP for a second. We'll transition over to our college team. Not quite the year that UTEP has wanted in Scotty Walden's first year at the helm there. They're 0-5 currently. They have Western Kentucky coming up next. Probably should have won a couple of games that they lost this season. But on the flip side of that, I think the upside for this team is big.
Agree.
Just looking at their 2025 class, which we'll talk about here in a second, I just really like the energy that Scotty Walden brings to the table and kind of the culture that he's created around this program.
We were talking about this, like kind of prepping what we're going to talk about, just so you guys watching at home know. We kind of go into this. This is our passion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like our Heart and Hustle is like our passion project. We like to talk about these teams and players and stuff. Every week we come in here. I want you to notice that the Hart, she doesn't have notes on this stuff. Like we're riffing on these players off the top of our head. We're talking about teams on the fly, what we like about them. So like this is like the God's honest truth of like what's in our hearts.
Yeah.
And or what we know about these teams, like in the moment that we're talking about it. When I say we do prep for the show, that's us talking at our cubicles like 10 minutes before.
Yeah.
We
like, come. You want to talk about this guy, right? Because he's really good.
Yeah. So one of the things you said, like bring up UTEP. What are your ideas on UTEP? Like to me, what I've enjoyed about the Scotty Walden era already is how much fun they are as it relates to Texas high school football recruiting.
Yes.
And the excitement that comes along with some of these players getting scholarship offers from an in-state school. Since that staff has been hired and set their feet in El Paso, UTEP has been really fun for me to watch and cover.
Yeah.
They offer players who I think are good, right? Which is always great. They're not afraid to throw their hat in the ring for offers for big players and get their name out there with some of the top players in the state, which I think is beneficial to their program in the long run.
Oh, absolutely.
They did a good job of getting one of the hardest working recruitniks in the business on their staff, and Chad Johnson, who has worked with some of the top programs in the Houston area. And I think that'll continue to pay dividends because he's one of the more well-liked coaches in the Texas high school football coaching fraternity. And they've added a lot of staffers like him on the staff. Coaches who Texas high school football coaches can gravitate towards or trust, because recruiting is all about relationships.
Yes. And to kind of play off of that a little bit, El Paso is a wonderful place. I thoroughly enjoy El Paso.
Yeah.
It is a lot of fun, great food, some good football. It's hard to recruit out there.
Harder.
It is
far.
It's far. And that's what I mean by that. It is really far to get these kids, these big time players, out of the Houston area, Austin area, DFW area. Even West Texas, that's still a good amount of drive that you have to go to get out there.
And to get them, they have to trust you. And that's where the relationship part comes in.
Yes.
They are trustable. The coaches trust them. And as a result of that, the players trust them. Also, I feel like because they are aggressive with recruiting the best players in the state, that they get put or shown in the media in a more positive light than the previous staff did. People are buzzing about them more. People are talking about them more, which I think will pay dividends. And one thing that we're not really taking into account or can't factor in quite yet is these relationships that they are building, that they are making. How will they impact them in the transfer portal? Right. So that's something to keep an eye on too, because I think the UTEP team that you see on the field right now in 2024 could be a completely different team in 2025 once some of these needs are addressed in the transfer portal. And now that Coach Walden and his staff has had a chance to put their arms around this team, see what they do well, see what players do they need to bring in to fit their schemes, their plays, how can they improve it through the transfer portal? I think that's where you're going to see immediate payoff, immediate dividends. And I suspect in 2025, you'll start to see those improvements take shape on the gridiron.
Well, and you can even tell that the work that they're doing it's just miles above what they have been in the past because of their 2025 class. So let's go ahead and dive into it.
Let's do it.
You wanted to do a draft per se.
Let's do a draft.
Okay.
I forgot about our draft.
That's why I'm here, to help remind you.
Yeah, so we're going to do we usually just like riff on these players and like talk about them one by one and then kind of bring up the ones that we can remember. We're not going to be able to talk about all the commitments in every one of these classes for every one of these teams. So I thought it'd be fun to watch the UTEP commits on tape, which we did, check, and then do a draft. How many players do you want to draft? You're going to draft 2 players, and I'm going to draft 2 players. Do you want the first pick or the second pick?
First pick.
All right, you go first.
Okay.
Wait, on the clock with the first pick in the UTEP draft.
2025 class.
Mallory Hartley.
I'm going to go with Euless Trinity, running back Josh Bell.
Okay, what do you like about Bell's game?
I think that his size, per se, is not something that I first noticed because I think he is a little bit smaller than the classic running back that you would see at a bigger program like that. But, man, is he fun to watch. I think he's really fast. Really, really fast. He put up over 2,000 yards on the ground, 37 touchdowns on this season last year. Just an explosive type running back. Actually, Ish and Ashley went to a game last year, Euless Trinity game against Marcus, and I remember them coming back and them saying, dude, this Josh Bell kid is something legit. Like, look out for him. He might be a little undersized, but he's got room to grow. I think he's definitely a prospect to watch. And sure enough, now he's committed to play for UTEP.
Lightning in pads.
Lightning in pads.
And this is exactly what we were talking about, I feel like, whenever we were like, what makes UTEP so interesting to us as we follow recruiting throughout the Lone Star State. It's this recruitment. Yes. I can point to this recruitment and say, UTEP took a Josh Bell whenever the old staff would have never considered it.
No.
You know, they really filled up with a lot of JUCO players, a lot of out-of-state players. But they identified that Bell was one of the best players in Texas high school football and gave him a chance to be a college player in Texas. Yeah. And that's fun. To me, that's fun. Yeah.
And Euless Trinity is known for having good running backs, right? Their offensive line is just known for being big, and they're just known for having a great rushing attack, right?
He had to fill in for Ollie Gordon.
Correct. Yes.
Ollie Gordon left and Josh Bell stepped in.
Correct. I mean, I love them both, but yes, he's going to be my first pick in the UTEP 2025 recruiting class draft. So,
what would be would you be the Mallory Hartley Spartans? And I'm gonna be the Greg Powers Buckeyes? No, I don't know. I'll be the Greg Powers Bengals. I don't know. Cowboys. With the second pick, I've been wrestling with this selection, right? I had my draft card filled out like 4 different times, scratched the name off, wrote in a different name. But I'm going with Midland running back Elijah McCoy.
You like him a lot.
Yeah,
you were talking.
Do.
Yeah.
You want to know why? He in the pads, he's like a bowling ball.
Yeah.
Right? Like he can really run over you, but he's got a 10.67 100-meter time. He's fast.
Really fast.
And he's deceptively fast. To me, he reminds me a lot of Taj Brooks, who's really having a lot of success at Texas Tech this year. And I think that McCoy is one of those guys who can come in and be a dependable down-to-down guy, a stat producer who can pick up the tough yardage in the middle of the trenches and move the chains, right? You need, like if the passing game's not clicking, you need to be able to rely on a strong run game. And to be able to do that, you got to have a running back who doesn't put you behind the chains. And a lot of that's up front, like how good the offensive line's blocking and whatnot. But sometimes running back just has to do it on their own. Yeah. And if you give me a guy that has a combination of power and speed, I like my chances of being able to pick up first downs more.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I'd even say Jonathan Hatton's kind of like that. You know, give me that power and give me that speed. Like, that's that's Cibolo Steele's running back, Jonathan Hatton,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Hatton's going to be one of the top-rated recruits in the nation.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he's an elite running back. So he's going to be fun to watch at Steele, but Midland's got herself a dude in McCoy, too.
Yeah.
So,
And he won't be going – that's not too far, Midland to El Paso. I mean, it's still a bit of a drive, but it's close-ish. They're doing a great job of recruiting the West Texas area, I would say.
I'm struggling with this draft because they're guys that I like that now I know they're going to get left out.
Yeah.
We're not going to pick them because we're going to pick somebody. We're only got 2 picks each.
I know.
But you're on the clock.
I'm on the clock. Okay. I'm going to go with Seguin wide receiver, Nick Henry.
Okay.
Oh. And we talked about it. Why? What?
I love Nick Henry. I
know.
feel like you trampled on my next pick. I'm
That's not true. You like a bunch of these players in this class. You are biased to this class. You love this class. I really like Nick Henry. I think one of the best receivers, not just receivers, but one of the best skill players that Seguin's had in a while. I just like the way that he plays. I think he is a little bit undersized. We talked about that beforehand. He's probably going to be playing mostly in the slot, which I think that's what he does now at Seguin by watching his tape. He plays a lot in the slot, but dude is fast, and I just really like the way that he plays.
He is electricity personified.
Yeah.
He's like that in the 7-on-7 setting. He's like that in the camp setting, but he's definitely like that in pads. A lot of times you talk about some of the best track guys in the state, which Nick Henry is. He was at UIL State this year competing for gold medals. When you're talking about the elite track stars, sometimes that doesn't translate into the pads, and I feel like Henry is a football player first, which is really important, who has the track speed to kind of like back it up.
I think so
that's a good pick.
Yeah, I think
I respect that.
I think he's gonna be pretty good at UTEP. I'm excited to watch him.
All right,
You're
my
up.
second pick. I wrestled with this decision, but I'm going to go with Sherman linebacker Kane Bowen. And it's a really good linebacker class for UTEP. They also have Copeland Winfont and Vashon Brunswick.
Yes.
Winfont from Crosby and Brunswick from Saxe. But what I like about Sherman's Kane Bowen is that he's a tremendous athlete as well. And what you notice a lot now in college football, and since we're doing a draft, what you notice a lot in the NFL draft is the linebackers who are highly successful in the NFL are guys who played other positions typically first and transition to linebacker because they have the athleticism to be able to track down the Jonathan Hattons, Elijah McCoys of the world and be able to bring them down. To combat that, you have to be able to run. And that's what I really like about Kane Bowen. I feel like he's one of the more underrated recruits in this cycle. He was on our radar extremely early because he picked up an early offer from Texas. Mm-hmm. And how many times have we discussed a UTEP commit
who also has an offer from a powerhouse like Texas?
Who also had an offer from Texas. And he had Kansas State and schools like that around his recruitment. But I feel like because he was in that footprint of the state that's north of Dallas so far, that he was kind of off of the beaten path. And Sherman plays really good football. And I think that he's got that old school mentality that he's bringing to the table, but with the athleticism of a running back, because he's also a running back. And I like that a lot about him. They really picked up like Saxe, Crosby, and Sherman.
Saxe, I was going to mention that too.
Yeah, like they picked up these guys from schools who are
that they would have never even looked at, under.
Well, Brunswick had a Colorado offer.
Yeah, right.
Dion was his first offer at Saxe, which is really cool. And Copeland Winfont, I mean, I told you this, like if Copeland Winfont was a little taller,
2 inches taller,
he would be a national. He'd be a national recruit. So it was a tough pick, but I'm going with Bowen.
Their 2025 class is so much fun.
We mentioned a lot more of the names. See, I worked in some of those names whenever we were doing our draft so that we can make sure that we mentioned some of our top guys. Rylan Bradford. I was going to say another West Texas guy
Justin
Lee, Maddox Huber. Like I want to at least I'm saying your guys' name because you're good.
All of them are good, and it makes me happy to see UTEP recruiting so well because I feel like that's an area that they've struggled in for so long. Like you said, they've kind of always relied on pulling guys from the transfer portal or relying really on those JUCO guys, right? But it's nice to see a staff that's not afraid to compete with these higher programs in the state of Texas and around the nation. I mean, that's admirable.
That's very well said.
Yeah.
What you said is that they don't have the fear
to
go up. And why should you? You know what I mean? Like,
no. UTEP rocks.
Well, Scotty Walden
Paso
also
rocks.
comes from like the Texas high school football
Correct.
coaching tree. There are a lot of people who are familiar with what he's done and the success that he's enjoyed since moving into the college coaching. And I think it's only going to get better with his time there. It's going to be hard to make it better for me because I've already enjoyed it so much.
I know.
But to me, just having one more team in Texas that recruits Texas talents, which is what we're all about here at Hart and Hustle. That's like on our thing. Texas teams, Texas talents. This changed the game. It changed the landscape because now you have another school out there putting FBS level offers out to Texas high school football student athletes, which is cool to me.
Yes. Well, it makes it easier to cover these college teams because you're just like, oh, yeah, like I remember when he played at DeSoto. Or, oh, yeah, I remember when he played at Saxe. Like, it's a win-win, right? It's a win-win. 100% well said. I completely agree.
You said it. I just cashed in on it.
You emphasized it a little
there
bit.
you go.
You put the little emphasized emoji on it. Well, I think that's going to do it for us.
Well, here's our outro.
Another strong week of Hart and Hustle, episode 8 and week 7 of the Texas high school football season. You ready for Friday night?
Let's do it.
All right. We'll see you guys. Well, actually, first, I want to plug Texas football tonight. Make sure you tune in at 7:30 p.m. on Friday night. You can watch it for free on TexanLive.com, our YouTube channel. We're all at on Twitter, Facebook, and watch our very own Greg Powers make his 2024 debut as an analyst for Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight. And you can also find all of his fine work on TexasFootball.com/recruiting. We'll see you guys next Thursday.
For Mallory Hartley, I'm Greg Powers. Keep it locked every week on Hart and Hustle.